Alright, so in this video I'm gonna be explaining a little bit about the WebSockets and specifically the Polymarket WebSockets that we're gonna be using in our bots to make trades on and implement our strategies. So I'll be leaving a timestamp, like if you already know what a WebSocket is, you can just continue to the next part of the video where I explain about the Polymarket WebSockets. But if you don't know what a WebSocket is, then stick around because I'm just going to do a quick explanation of what a WebSocket actually is. So a WebSocket is kind of similar to a normal like HTTP request, but very different also. So in a normal, let's say API application, you do one request to a server and then you get something back from that server. So you can see here in the screenshot here, you can see on a normal HTTP connection, so this is your typical API call. You have your client, so that can be your program, it can be your trading bot. It does a request to the server. So let's say in our case Polymarket, and then Polymarket returns a response. So let's say that you needed in this example to get price updates, you would have to manually call their servers, every second or faster, and then get those updates. So that's not really efficient because normally, you'll be rate limited if you do API calls too much. So you have to handle that in some way. But then we have a WebSocket, which is different. So again, we have the client, which can in our case be our trading bot. It does a request to the server, and then the server actually sends back data in almost real time. So then there's a connection between these two entities or servers, and then the server that you're requesting just keeps sending you data again and again and again. So you don't need to call it again and again. You get the data as long as you maintain the connection. So this is where the Polymarket WebSockets come in, because Polymarket have WebSockets. They also have other kinds of data sources. So they do have real-time data streams. They have something they call a gamma structure and gamma endpoints and a data API. All of these is normal API calls, normal HTTP requests, while the WebSocket here, and I think the real-time data as well, maybe, I'm not sure, I haven't looked into that, but the WebSocket here at least is a WebSocket. So what we have is, basically a subscription. So what you do is you make a connection to the WebSocket, and then you tell Polymarket what data that you would like to fetch or get. They have different methods here. So they have the markets that you can subscribe to, which is based on the condition IDs, and you also have asset IDs. So this is the specific token. So maybe you only want to be following a specific token, then you can do that, or you can also do several different markets and so on. And it's all explained here in the documentation. Without digging too much into the actual code, but here's an example, and you can actually just copy paste this into your own trading bot if you'd like. And this kind of explains everything. So you have different methods in your WebSocket class here. So for example, you have on message. So this is the one that's actually getting called every time that Polymarket returns data in this WebSocket. So this is actually can be several different messages per second, and then you need to handle those in your program. We have other methods here, for example, on error, on close, and it has on open, subscribe to token IDs, and so on. So different kind of methods to maintain and subscribe to this WebSocket here. There are two different WebSockets that I'll be talking about in this video. So that's the user channel and the market channel. For the sports WebSocket, I'm not really gonna go into detail about that because frankly, I haven't actually looked at it yet. But the sports WebSocket can give you real-time sports results via the WebSocket. Probably very, very good if we are doing sports betting. We are not doing that right now, maybe in the future, but so for the scope of this video, I'll be focusing on the user channel and the market channel. And I'm also gonna explain how I'm planning to use it in our trading bot. So the user channel is is actually a WebSocket where you do need to authenticate with an API key and stuff like that. Contrary to the market channel. The market channel you don't need to, you can just connect to it and you get the data. So the reason is because here you get data specifically for your own user. And then you get, when you then connect, you get different messages in the web from the WebSocket that you then need to handle in your trading bot. So for example, for the user channel, you get a trade message in case when a market order is matched, when a limit order for the user is included in a trade, or subsequent status changes for a trade mined, confirmed, retrying, and failed. And then you can see here the structure. So this is very important to maintain your your portfolio of trades. And this is also something that we discussed in the previous video, looking at the solution design. If we go back to the solution design here, you can see how I have a position layer here. So from the event bus receives data or events from the data sources. So we have a user channel WebSocket here as its own data source. We then handle it through our pipelines here, and then it comes to the position layer, and it's also going to go over to the strategy layer, because maybe we have a strategy that needs to handle, you know, their trades, the most likely need to, right? Maybe we only want to have the trade, you know, on the order book for a certain amount of time, and then we need to cancel it. And that's something we could potentially do here if that is not a possibility through the API directly, which in some cases it is. So that's the idea behind that for the user channel. And then we have the market channel, which is public channel for updates related to market updates. Okay, so this is actually where you don't need to authenticate. You can just get a lot of market updates, public market updates, and then handle that. And that's where we have the market channel WebSocket. This one is, you know, then go through our pipeline adapters to the processing, over to the event bus that then, you know, send it over to our signal layer. And then this is where we can construct different signals. Again, not just these two signals, we can have many different signals to construct based on the Polymarket data that then go over to the strategy layer, and we then produce the actions. So again, the market channel has different messages again that we can work with. We have the book message, price change message, we have a tick size change message, we have a last trade price message, best bid ask message, new market message, market resolve message. This is all that we're able to subscribe to in the WebSocket. And I mean, you can read all of the details, but we can just do some examples here. For example, the book message is emitted first time when you subscribe to a market. And then after that, it will be emitted when there's a trade that affects the book, so that the trading or the order book. Yeah, so if we just take a look at the order book here. So whenever there's a trade that affects the order book, could be an amount of shares or the price, you know, this is the best ask price and the bid price for buying yes here. Yeah, so then, you know, we will get this message here when a trade affects the book. And, you know, we get a payload, something like this. And for this, we can actually structure our own order book in our trading bot. So if we have a strategy that solely relies on the order book, it could be like an arbitrage strategy, or it could be like we talked about before, if you want to become part of the rebate program. If you remember that, if we go to the crypto market, the 15 here, so we have the mega rebate. So we could also have a strategy that basically tries to earn on the mega rebate. Let me take a market here that has a big order book. So the way you could do that is to place resting orders on the order book. So for example, an order on 49 and an order on 46. And then if it's taken, you're actually participating in the make a rebate and actually collecting fees from other traders that places the market orders. So for that example, it would be good to, use the WebSocket to construct the order book through these messages. It's also possible to get the order book through an API call through the normal HTTP connection where you request and get a response back. But if you did that, then you'd have to ping their server, several times, and you need to figure out how to do the rate limits, because there is rate limits on the API calls. And then there's a price change message here, which is, from my experience, the one that has a lot of data, and it's gonna ping you a lot all the time, especially if you subscribe to several different markets. But this is a good one. You get a payload that looks something like this. You get the market, and then you get price changes for the different tokens. So you have an asset ID, which is the token, and here, and you have the price, the size, decide, buy or sell, best bid and ask price for that specific trade there. Yeah, so many different types of messages that you can use in your WebSocket. Yeah, so that was a little bit about the WebSockets on Polymarket. My plan is to make my next video, maybe, or at least soon, make a video about the specific implementation of the WebSocket. So basically in our program here, I have a Polymarket WebSocket adapter, which fits in within our architecture. So that's this one over here. So we have the pipeline adapter, the Polymarket WebSocket. So I haven't updated this to reflect these names here. So that's the market channel, the market events that we use this adapter, this pipeline adapter to. And this basically follows the structure that we saw in the example of Polymarket. So now we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're just following along on their documentation, and then we have improved it and implemented maybe more features. And then we have another pipeline here, the Polymarket user events, which again, like we discussed, it's the user channel WebSocket here. So we use that in our config loader, basically in our strategies. And my plan is to go through this with you and explain the code, how it works, and how I'm planning to use it in a production environment. So stick around, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.